back to the Curious Shelf. You are joining me on a grey overcast day in Brussels. But without further ado, let me go on to this week's midweek pop-up topic, which is none other than me, let me grab it, revisiting the Lantern Oracle. So this is a Blue Angel deck, mass market, retailing around €20. It is by Angelina Mirabito, PhD, and illustrated by Yuli Alaho. So this is a 44 card deck, and I would put it that it really focuses on the female archetypes, the female energy, and progression of that female energy through its ages. So if you identify with that, or if you're interested by that in any way, this is a great deck for that. I picked it up last year in the summer, and I always have to say, I just picked it up on a whim. I really hadn't thought through so much, and I've done kind of like a first impressions video of it. But since then, I've been using it for a year. I use it heavily on Instagram. I know people have asked me about it, like, I'm intrigued, I'm interested in buying it, not sure if I should, that kind of thing. So I thought that after nearly a year of working with it, or like 10 months or something, it would be good for me to do actually a proper kind of like deep dive on what I thought of that. And I do kind of like deep dives with tarot decks, but I don't do them so much with Oracle, and I just thought this deck deserves that intention. So as I mentioned, this is, a Blue Angel mass market deck, so very easy to get hold of. It comes with the classic Blue Angel large box that's difficult to get open. These are the colors inside. It's a gorgeous red. And straight off the bat, I have to say that this Oracle deck has colors which I don't really see, I don't see very often in kind of like, it's not kind of like colors that I normally buy and go towards. I'm somebody that's very kind of like either colorful or strong, kind of like blacks and grays and whites and that kind of thing. But these are kind of like very natural colors, actually. That's the best way I'm gonna put it. And that's something that I actually have less of. So this is an interesting addition to my collection. So the deck gotta get it right. So the deck specifically focuses on the female energy and female form through her ages. So we are looking of the female form through their ages, I could say as well. So we're basically looking at maiden, mother, guardian, and crone. They actually have like 4 levels rather than like 3. So 4 stages, I should say, sorry. So here, the maiden energy is associated with water. The mother energy is associated with earth. Then the guardian energy is more air, and then the crone energy is fire. And I find that very, very interesting. It's very similar to our tarot in the sense that in tarot, normally we have like the pentacles, then we have the suit of water, we have air, and we have fire. So this really is kind of like another form of representation of those ages. And right off the bat, one of the first reasons why I bought the deck, and I actually hadn't seen all the images when I bought it. I think I bought it when it had just been released. Like, I remember I got it at like pre-sale prices, so I got it actually at a good price or something. But one of the reasons why initially I just went for it was because, it has diversity as well. Like straight off the bat, there's diversity. So I was intrigued. I was like, I wonder what this is going to be showing me. And I actually thought it'd be culturally kind of like the Lantern Oracle and maybe more Eastern, but it isn't so. It's more mixture of cultures, and I actually quite like that as well. So I like the diversity. It's not specific to one culture, so I welcome that very much. Okay, so let me start showing you some of the images, and then I'll go through it a little bit more of how I've been using it and what I think. So, these are not in order, but here you have, stages such as metamorphosis. So this is a very young archetype. We have motherhood here represented. Again, like I said, I love the diversity. I love the openness of showing the female form in various manners. I'm going to go into that. We have here very young child. So it's so beautiful. Like, this makes me just smile because, we have like the tenderness, the innocence, the playfulness. It says at the bottom here, radical curiosity. So it's reminding us, we can look at the curiosity we have in our lives. Wisdom and play, so more that kind of like maiden energy going towards mother, more kind of like, finding out more about our our intuition, but also our bodies, our form, our interplay with the elements. That's what I see when I see this, kind of like, you know, how I am part of the natural world, and also honoring the female beauty. I love images such as this. You know, this is forgiveness, and very much she's holding on to herself here, and her hands look like quite. Her hands look like she's been through quite an ordeal, and one of them's even swollen. So really, the body here has. We're going to see images which show actually that the body has taken sometimes, you know, wounds, renewal, gorgeous energy. I see here kind of like, you know, this forest. Teepees kind of like in the growth of the forest or a jungle. And then here, radical self-acceptance. The beauty of this, you know, clearly we can see she's had a mastectomy. So I really, really love that. I love the fact that today, and it's also in the She-Wolf Tarot, by the way, where we're seeing female body forms that have been changed due to sometimes we've faced illnesses and life-threatening diseases. And it's something that's very close to my heart because it's something that I've had to go through with another family member twice, actually. And the impact it has on the female form and how we see ourselves and how one sees themselves. It's really, really, I have to say, experiencing it and really close up. It's really impactful, and it changed me when I was a teenager. That was the age that I had to go through that experience with someone else. And what it's taught me is that, you know, how much, you know, that the relationship with our bodies as well. So this really meant a lot to me, this particular image. Here it says, moving forward, she looks so lost, and then she's about to take a step. You know, it looks a little bit like she's swaying. I don't know what it is. I think it's that wind, and it's how it's picked up her garments. But I just love it, and you can see the shadow of the eagle there, so she's protected. It's just a gorgeous deck. It's following women through their journeys. That's what I see here. Here we see confusion, and also now we're seeing this, what I would see as more of a mother energy, or more going towards the guardian. I would say the guardian energy, and I love this. Now we're seeing aging. So we've seen diversity. We've seen wounds, physical wounds to our bodies, or going through operations and such. And here we see, you know, somebody who perhaps is at a stage where she's rediscovering herself, or they're rediscovering themselves, and they're lost, you know. And there's that light, you know, the light within is still there with her. Here, just, you know, beautiful. This is transitions, and this is, you know, when we go to like the end stage of our life. And I just love this deck because it's really celebrating the female form and the female archetypes through all of our ages. So I just, and colors and skin colors and ethnicities and feelings, and just, you know, also we're not all put together in this deck. You know, we'll see, you know, we just saw here feelings of confusion, you know, and it's okay to be confused. That's what it's telling me. You know, growth hurts, heals, and harnesses away through uncertainty. So this deck is just so good at confirming that whatever stage we're at, it's okay to be at that stage. Basically, it's okay to be feeling those wounds and those emotions. You know, this is about making amends, and it's about how sometimes, you know, that closeness is really kind of like when we're going through that difficult pain, or coming through it and forgiving each other, rather than always, you know, the fun moments, you know. So I like that it's celebrating that tapestry of life. And again, you know, I see diversity, I see aging, I see a tenderness there, and yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful. I love this because of the diversity again. I love the fact that we've seen at different ages. We see, you know, just the laughter and the joy. It reminds me of Three of Cups a little bit, but these are fates that have gone through their lives. They're not just in that young energy in that stage. So again, you know, and you see this bountiful, right? And we see how we're sharing it. We're sharing our wisdom. We're sharing the nutrition of what we've learned, you know, the nourishment of what we learned. So beautiful images, very strong and powerful. Here we see, you know, she's the cosmic dancer, and she's got this strength coming through, and this vitality, and this ability to address whatever is in front of her. It says eternal gatekeeper, you know, so it really just shows, you know, the strength that we have in that feminine energy, in that form, that we can also be guardians of realms, basically, cosmic realms. So that was the other thing that I wanted to talk about when I'm showing this deck, that I really felt that it crosses times. So I'm talking about ages here. So I've already mentioned that it crosses times, but it also crosses for me times in terms of historical periods, and that I noticed. So some of the images for me feel a bit gothic, some feel very modern, some feel very timeless, that's the best way I can put it, and some, you know, just, oh, look at that, gorgeous, look at the diversity there. Some feel very contemporary, very, very soothing card, you know. I mean, it's allowing us to say, you know, that when people leave, there's a loss, and this card is acknowledging it, you know. And she's put the photos there. It's a gorgeous card. So yeah, so I really like the fact that it's crossing time. For me, it feels like centuries. It's crossing some kind of like historical time as well. And then finally, one of the other things that I like about this deck, and I just want to check my notes here, is that it's crossing for me also space, you know, like very cosmic. Oh, look at, I said cosmic, and then this opens up, right? So, you know, this is called lantern. So we think the lantern is just that, you know, the lantern that we hold, but sometimes the lantern can be so much light, like that we're tapping into, and we're using to light ourselves, light our way, light the skies. It's just beautiful how the energy is represented here. So it's a very, sometimes I feel very earthy, airy, and then cosmic. I don't know how to put it, and fiery, you know. So it has got those elements running right through it. It says perspective here. So I'm thinking of kind of like the decks that will go, I mean, look, this is the same woman through all of her ages, which I think is amazing. So I'm thinking like, you know, what are the decks that I can use with this? Now, I'm someone that doesn't very often always use very often, but it does sound very strange. I don't often use tarot decks with my large oracle deck cards. I don't know what it is. I use them sometimes when I'm doing kind of like, you know, an Insta pull, and it's great for having like a check-in for the day. But most of the time, these cards are like, for me, just really good for me as a reflection in a moment. And so, yeah, so I kind of like think that this deck would go really, really well if you wanted to use this. So let me now jump on to the next section. What can it be really good to use with, and how can we use this with the decks that we have? I think it's really, really good if you're doing any kind of moon work and you're working through kind of like moon energies. This deck is superb. So you don't have to do kind of like, you know, this month, sorry, I did this kind of like, you know, abundance workshop covering May. You don't always have to do all of that. You might just think, you know, it's full moon, it's going to put a spotlight on an area of my life, and I just want to use full moon energy. I just want to use that energy of release and gratitude. And I want it to be simple, and I don't want to do like a whole, you know, 4-week card pulls kind of thing. And that's great, that's fine. This deck will be amazing for that. So what you can do is you can again go back to your moon deck if you have one, and you know, depending upon which way you phrase the question, you can get a lot from that. So for example, you could look at this question, you could look at false beliefs, right? That's the question. And it says, once the untruths that we believe about ourselves are illuminated, so are the ways we can release the false limitations they confine us to. So this is about looking at patterns, right? Patterns that keep us locked, patterns that don't allow us to develop and grow. And what is it that we might believe about ourselves or our situations, which is like, I can't do anything about this, you know, I'm stuck, it's not going to work, that kind of thing. Now, there's 2 ways you can approach this. Oh, hopefully I don't rock the camera too much. You can either take this card and you can ask Spirit, when is a good time in the moon cycle for me to look at this? So let's say we're looking at the Gemini cycle of moons that we're about to go through. So the moon going through the zodiac sign of Gemini, which we have now coming up from the 30th onwards with the new moon. So we can ask the question and then pull a card from our deck. So this is Waxing Crescent 5, Nourishment. So we can find where this is. This is near the beginning actually of the new moon cycle. So this is straight after the new moon. So perhaps we can use this around day 7 of the 28-day cycle to look at where is it that false beliefs are holding me back. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you're working with the moon, with a moon deck, this can be used that way. Another way you can use this is actually when you're working with your moon deck. For example, if you are on, let's say we're on, let me give one, here we are, first quarter moon. Let's say we're on right at the end of that first week after the new moon. So about 7-8 days after the new moon, and we're assessing. And you're at this card, you're at this point in the journey. If you're at this point in the journey, you might ask yourself, well, what's a good area for me to work on? You can just take the Lantern Oracle, because it's going to give you a very meaty, the guidebook is great. It's going to give you a very meaty thing. So you could ask yourself, well, maybe this is about me tapping into my intuition and allowing that wisdom to flow and have fun with that energy. And let me take the reading for this so you get a sample reading as well. Wisdom in play. And it says here, let me get this right. Our intuition knows more than we do. Playtime is where we can express what we subconsciously know and learn with increased ease and depth. When we playfully engage with life, it magnifies our openness and ability to present in the moment. A state of playfulness is when the mind relaxes its control and censorship over the expression of our spirit self's wisdom. In states of play, we can freely explore ourselves and our ideas without the fear or the burden of real-life consequences. Activities of emotional relief and reprieve can be enjoyed, and in such carefree moments, solutions to our problems often occur to us. This is because play and creativity take place in the hypothetical space of make-believe, visualization, and imaginative problem-solving. An inner subconscious knowing can be accessed and expressed through intuitive action and reaction. The maiden is blindfolded with her head facing upward. She pours her spirit self energy from one cup directly into the other with no spillage. She appears to be relaxed in a state of play as her intuitive pouring is achieved with exceptional precision. This demonstrates the potential of one's inner knowing and the guidance to wield results that are superior to those of logic and reason. Now is the time to prioritize play. It is through playfulness that you open yourself to receive solutions to problems. At every age, play is a gift to yourself that keeps on giving. And then the maiden's message is honor the value of play, the unexpected insights that rise through it. I think that's gorgeous. I think that's really clearly saying that at whatever age we can access play. And when I was reading this, I was thinking High Priestess, I was thinking Temperance, I was also thinking of Two of Swords, you know, that blind decision making and having to go in and trust that moon energy in order to make the decision. So all these tarot cards were coming through my mind, and I was just thinking, you know, it might even be good that if you got this card and you're around the first week and, you know, you were doing this exercise with, what was it here? Here we go again. You're doing this, and you can see she's, and you've got these two cards up. You can even get the High Priestess card out of your favorite tarot deck and put it next to them, right? And you've got already there a wealth of energy to work with, you know, for that week or those days. You know, you don't need to keep pulling just to have 3 altar cards up, and it's all about intuition perhaps at that moment, you know. So that's one way of working with this deck, I would suggest. Another way of working with this deck, and I was thinking about this, was using something like, I see, most of them are going to be oracles, you're just going to have to forgive me for this one. It's something like Colette Baron reads the Enchanted Map. I think equally well if you've got Oracle of the 7 Energies and then her crystal one, or like, you know, I think what CBR does well is that she creates well a journey space. I think that she does do well. So what you could do is if you have a journey kind of oracle, maybe it's a Sandra Ante, like oracles, which I know it sounds really weird when I say this, but sometimes I really like oracles which are just bread and butter oracles, i.e., and it sounds really corny when I say this, but like, tomorrow you might meet somebody with, I don't know, a blue shirt and holding a newspaper. Sounds really random, I know. But I sometimes like oracles which are kind of like, you know, the sign kind of thing. Because even though we may not always treat things like that and that way, there's an energy of the oracle which I really love to pick up on. So for example, if we go into this, let me pick another card from the Lantern Oracle. Let's see what I'm going to get here. Okay, so I've done that one. Ooh. Oh, sorry. See, this is what happens with this setup. I'm so sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on. Just give me a moment. Hopefully, yep. Sorry about that. Hopefully, we can just continue. Okay, so let me just get another one. Okay, so let me pick one, and then I'm going to go into something more about this deck in a moment. Oh, I'm getting some really interesting cards here, so that's not okay. Emotional energy. I wanted to pick something that was a little bit more uplifting. Emotional energy. Look at the beautiful rainbow there. Oh, she's gorgeous. So fey. You can tie this with chakras. You can tie this with rainbows. You can try this with there's so much, like, it's just gorgeous, absolutely stunning. So it says at the bottom here, emotions are messengers to them to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. So it's about really embracing our emotions and allowing them all to come through and filter through and not to be scared of them. And so for this one, maybe you can also then take an oracle card like this, and I've picked out encouragement here. And just go with those flows. So then, going back to your Lantern Oracle guidebook, I mean, you can see here, there's such a playful energy going on here. You can actually just, use this encouragement card as just a keyword even. You don't have to go into the guidebook for CBR. But go into the guidebook for this, the Lantern Oracle, and just see that this energy is riding on encouragement. So it just really helps to be uplifted that, the Oracle is encouraging me to look at this area of my life. So that's another way of working with this, with the Lantern Oracle. And some other Oracle decks that I picked out because I like them is the Sufi Wisdom Oracle by Rasuli. Now I haven't shown this oracle on my channel, so maybe let me know if you're interested in me doing something in depth with this one. This deck for me is very much more similar to our connection with our spirit, or something that we might be believing in, the higher forces of the universe, creator, spirit. Some people say God. If you don't like that word, that's fine. Or maybe it's just the higher self as well, a higher intuition. So you can always take, again, a card from this. And for example, here it says Radical Curiosity. This beautiful card. Now let me pick a card here. And here, let me pick one here. That makes sense. Okay, here. Oh, did I drop something? No. Here is Radical Curiosity, and then Life's Purpose. Let me do this way around so it makes it a little bit, wow. And the way I see this is that this is encouraging me to allow myself to embrace that curiosity is a part of my life purpose throughout my life. So it doesn't stop when I'm a child. That continues into when I'm in my 30s and my 40s, my 50s, 60s, because remember, this deck just goes into all ages until our death, basically. So I love that, because that's saying to me, it is okay for my life journey to be about that curiosity, to learn. And then again, it says here, seeing as if for the first time, every time. So it's really reinforcing the fact that every time I make a new discovery, or every time I see something, to ask myself, is there something that I don't still know about it? Am I discovering something new? And so, yeah, I think that's amazing too. And then finally, I did try and get hold of a tarot deck, which I thought might resonate. I'm not sure about it though. And one that I thought a little bit resonates is the Crow Tarot by MJ Cullen. Now also I think the Guardians of the Night, which I haven't bought yet, it's to be released by Hay House. That might go well with this deck. I think that might go even better with this deck, because that deck is really kind of like city earthy. So it's very modern. But this deck, although aesthetically not the same, this deck has the Morrigan energy, and I find the energy very crone. That's my just personal take on it, and I love that because it has so much wisdom in there. So now this might be a deck where, for example, if we pull the Hierophant cards, that's about, let me see if I can put that there, that's about learnings and teachings and a gateway, you know, and school, higher education, basically using formal rules to help us educate. And here, oh, I pulled this card. Let me see if I can just do this. And this is Metamorphosis. So again, a beautiful pairing about how higher education, schooling, perhaps even a mentor might help me go through that transformation that I need to go through. And again, you know, it says here at the bottom, power and strength within our surrender to change, you know. So perhaps I need to surrender to allowing a mentor to guide me, allowing a mentor to help me align a little bit better, showing me how I could further my education, maybe read more, maybe allow myself to expand. And that is a metamorphosis process. So these were just some examples. And I was trying to find decks that help tap into this beautiful earthy energy that you now see of the lantern. Earthy or natural energy, that's what I was trying to go for. So not earth in terms of just the element earth, but more the natural elemental side of our lives. Okay, so that's just a little bit on working with other decks, and I'm sorry about the little upheaval there with my setup. Hopefully that hasn't jarred it too much. And finally, I think this deck, now this is where I'm going to be really careful here. So we're 26 minutes in. This deck has a lot of depth when it comes to inner child work. And very appropriately, actually, I recently saw another tarot tuber saying that, you know, when it comes to deep trauma, I got to be careful because I might rephrase what they said and it will be incorrect. How I saw and interpreted it and how I think about it myself, let me just take it back to me, is that deep trauma work really needs more the professional setting. And I have to say 100% I believe that deep trauma work needs professional settings, and I know not everybody has access to counselors and psychiatrists and so forth, or at least good, well-structured, healthy self-help groups. But I'm saying that very, very much with like, or both, you know, so just really careful there. I don't believe doing trauma work on one's own. I don't recommend it. I think it really does need good support. It needs allowing the person to breathe so that they're also moving past any forms of codependency, and allowing the person to really to be able to expand their own feelings and thoughts and what they're going through, and having that space. The best is of course going to be professional help. That I definitely agree with. I know not everybody has access to that, and some people access it through self-help groups. I'm not going to say anything about whether or not that's right or wrong. That's up to each individual, of course. I think this deck has elements which are very, very self-soothing if you are part of that. I don't see this as the starting off point, and I really want to be careful about that, because this deck has areas which are really, really deep. And I think that if somebody has not got that training already within themselves and has that support network, this deck may not be the best place. And I'm just going to be really, really blunt about that, because I don't want to recommend something and then there is a lot coming up and the person feels completely unsupported. So in some programs, there is such probing, and it varies in what you're participating in or what you're working with, what one is working with. There is levels which are very, very deep. And when I looked at this deck over a period of time, it actually had images which were very soothing and comforting and supportive as one goes through that journey. And again, I'm talking about grief, deep grief. I'm talking about deep trauma. I'm talking about trauma that might have occurred over decades sometimes. And some of it's really, really to the point where, it affects people to the point where I know that they have trouble even with everyday life because they're in that space. So I want to be careful here that I don't recommend that somebody starts off with this. This is more a support after all of the really integral community network and professional support is in place. So that's the best way I'm going to put it. Because I have seen here references which can be that if somebody's not used to it, it will just it could pull them into a very dark space. And I can't recommend that then if somebody doesn't have all of those elements. So I just want to be careful here and responsible in that sense as I give this review. I do find it a beautiful deck. You know, perhaps you have already been working through these issues and then you might be like, oh, I know this stuff, I'm ready for it. Fair enough. But I just want to be here responsible as I recommend this deck, because, you know, I'm speaking from my own experience here. So I'm not speaking here as like some third party. I'm also speaking to somebody who's educated themselves heavily over time in this area, that whenever I help others as well, I always say network is important, professional counsel is important, where and when you can get it. And you know, I really would never leave somebody in a dark space on their own. I'm just someone that really believes in that. So that's my 2 cents worth. It's just an opinion, but I really just want to say it. Okay, so we're 30 minutes in. I'm going to end soon. I think this is a gorgeous deck as well. You know, I think if you're looking at that healing energy and you're someone that's well versed in it or has the network and the support, and you're like, I know this stuff, I'm ready for it, I recommend this deck specifically. And you know, it's a great mass market option as well. And I think that the imagery is also just so beautiful. I mean, I think this is one of the few decks now that I'm looking at it, you know, and I've been studying it for a while, is that I love that it has so much diversity. I mean, no one who identifies with female energy hopefully feels left out when they've seen this deck, because we've got cultural diversity, we've got body diversity, we've got facial diversity, phenotype diversity, we've got elemental diversity, we've got you know, centuries covered. I mean, this creator has really spent a lot of time trying to make sure that, you know, people feel welcome when they're working with this deck. They feel like, oh, yeah, even one deck, like the deck, you know, with the lady that had the mastectomy, that was like, you know, really an opening up of something that I know firsthand, like having helped someone through that, like myself, you know, and gone through it, like how sensitive and how nurturing it is that today we don't hide those things anymore, you know. And for me, that's such an important part of our life, right? It's just to allow us to just be ourselves, you know. And as they say through the what is it, we have maiden, mother, guardian and crone. So yeah, so with that, I'm going to stop there, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you all at the weekend. Take care now. Bye.